it seems to me, along with the editorial and the governance, which are important issues which we'll unpack, I think there is an issue about how quickly we respond, the speed of our response. Why do we not do it quickly enough? Why do we take so much time? And this was another illustration of that. We should have, as a collective, we should have pursued it to the end and got to the bottom of it and not wait, as we did, till it became public discourse. Make a mistake, it's an important thing. We need to identify the problem and take the correct actions. It's not enough to say, well, everything else is great. It's important we hold ourselves to high standards. But when we do make a mistake, what tends to happen, has happened over the years, is that people who want to have a go at the BBC use it to have a go at the BBC. And I said at the beginning here, I apologise for the people who care deeply for the BBC and wanted to survive and thrive.
You push it because they haven't offered, our understanding is they've offered no money whatsoever. They've apologised in a letter, but they haven't offered you a penny in compensation. There was this figure of $1 billion that you may be pursuing.
I think I have an obligation to do it. Look, I'm not looking to get into lawsuits, but I think I have an obligation to do it. This was so egregious. If you don't do it, you don't stop it from happening again with other people. I think you probably have an obligation. I'd like to find out why they did it. You know, it's so bad.
Yeah.
Who thinks like this? And I wonder if they've done it. We'll find this out. You know, the nice part about litigation is we'll find out how many times have they done it to other people. Maybe they did it to me quite a bit.
I was almost disbelieving. The BBC are in a real calamity here. They seem just not to have got the first clue as to what ordinary people feel about this. I could not believe that when the apologies came out, there were apologies for nearly everybody, except one mention of the man who potentially could bring down the whole BBC, Donald Trump. And they've already had to give a pretty grovelling apology to him, knowing how litigious he is. He will be watching every move that they're making, every word that's said.
A BBC board member has resigned, criticising governance issues at the top of the corporation. Shumi Banerjee claims he was not consulted over two senior resignations earlier this month. Katie Spencer reports.
The timing of this is really significant. We'd had some rumours, there was a bit of speculation that perhaps there was going to be some sort of shake-up on the board, that we might see resignations, but I think this was a relative surprise really when this was announced tonight. It's been confirmed by the BBC itself in a statement, who have said Shumi Banerjee today notified the BBC board of his resignation. Mr Banerjee's term on the board as a non-executive director was due to end at the end of December, and we thank him for his service. The search for a replacement is already well underway, and we will update further in due course, which kind of tries almost to downplay this, and as you would expect really from the BBC, in terms of trying to not really fuel this fire of possible divisions within the BBC board itself. But I think the fact that this is coming, this resignation has come ahead of the fact that the BBC chair, Samir Shah, and Sir Robbie Gibb, who has been spoken about a lot, one of the political appointees on the BBC board, they're both due to speak at the Culture Select Committee on Monday. This really is, the timing of this is a real blow as they sort of go ahead into that briefing of ministers and will clearly want to present a united front. This really only exposes some of the cracks within the board itself, and we're hearing reports tonight of some of the reasons that Mr Banerjee gives as his reasoning for wanting to leave, and he reportedly points to governance issues as one of the reasons that he has decided to go, and in which case Samir Shah certainly, I think, should be worried. There had already been calls from outside of the organisation that perhaps the BBC chair should resign, but this is basically calls from within the BBC board itself questioning his ability to lead the board. And I think, yeah, certainly ahead of this big event on Monday, the big sort of committee hearing, this certainly doesn't exactly sort of lessen the heat that is on the BBC board itself. It only really, again, sort of leads to this speculation about the fact that there are really these big, deep divisions within the BBC board.
Brendan, a study of BBC headlines since the October 7 attacks has found 3 times more were critical of Israel than of Hamas. The Telegraph is reporting references to Hamas committing possible war crimes appeared once in the broadcaster's coverage, while those featuring claims of Israeli genocide, famine and starvation appeared 45 times. Brendan, is this another example of this institutional bias that's continuing to plague Britain's public broadcaster?
Yeah, the BBC's bias on Israel is out of control. I mean, it really is actually quite disgusting. And you see it every single night on News at 10. They just pump this anti-Israel propaganda into people's homes day after day. It's really quite disturbing. And as this new study finds, they're 3 times more likely to criticize Israel than they are to criticize Hamas. The recent Prescott dossier that was caused a controversy a couple of weeks ago, that found that that the BBC made so many mistakes on the Israel issue that it had to issue, on average, 2 corrections every week since 7th of October 2023. And that's because it basically became a mouthpiece for Hamas. It was spreading Hamas propaganda, Hamas lies into people's homes every single day. And the consequences have been dire. Firstly, it has led people to believe things about Israel that are not true. But secondly, it has endangered the Jews of Britain. It has contributed to a crisis of anti-Semitism in this country, the like of which we haven't seen for a very long time. And I genuinely believe the BBC had a serious role to play in that.
I completely agree with you. It's frightening. Brendan O'Neill, we have to leave it there. Thank you as always for joining us. Really appreciate it.